Hey, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you may be or whenever you may be listening. First of all, thank you again for checking into this podcast Alone in My Room. This is the third episode, and I'm just going to get right into it. So, about a month ago, I sprained my wrist, and people have been asking me, how did you do that? And I did it doing yoga. I was doing a cat cow pose and doing breathing work and stuff like that. And I just so happened to put a little too much pressure on my wrists, especially on the outside, and it became, it started off as just like a little bit pain in the moment, and I didn't think much of it. I've strained things before, and it goes away after a day or two, and but it's been hurting for the past month, and I haven't took care of it. I haven't treated it how I should have, and then I finally went to my aunt's house, and she provided me with a brace, sort, and I kind of feel like Thanos or some type of fighter in some sense. But I just kind of wanted to use, me breaking my, not breaking, but spraining my wrist kind of as a segue into, spirituality, including yoga and meditation and things like that. Um, I want to say, like, we can hurt ourselves, and we can also prolong our healing longer than we need to if we neglect ourselves. We can hurt ourselves if we put the smallest amount of, you know, weight in the biggest of the wrongest ways. It is something that I feel like a lot of people don't notice, and a lot of people don't understand. The buttons they press within themselves or within other people and things like that. And I kind of just wanted to say that, and hope that stays in people's minds and things. Because I think it's very important to realize how we affect ourselves and how we affect other people. But going on from that, I'm basically just going to give the rundown of my spiritual journey so far, and how I've gotten to where I am, and the beliefs that I have, and how they manifested, and how I've changed them, and who I've become, and how I see things right now. So I guess it starts at my birth. um, I was born into a Christian family, Pentecostal Christian to be exact, and my parents, well, my mom and my stepdad were both pastors, and so if anybody has gone to church, especially a Spanish Pentecostal church, or grew up in any type of church, there's like different ways that we are brought up, and different things that kind of stick inside our minds for the rest of our lives, and the ways that we have to act, and the morals that we're supposed to have, and things like that. And especially being a pastor's kid, you're put on such a high pedestal that, like, you have to be the good kid, or you're setting an example for all the other kids and things like that. And for most of my life, I was a good kid, and I was a follower of Jesus Christ. um, and I think I was, I'd go to Sunday school. I was a kid in school that would bring his Bible to school because they told us, carry your Bible everywhere with you, because it gives you the opportunity to bring somebody to the Lord, to Jesus, and give them the option to save their soul and things like this. And I would go to church 4 or 5 times a week, and I was raised on TBN. And if anybody who's a Christian knows what TBN is, you know how crazy it was. It was Trinity Broadcasting Network, and it was just a 24/7 channel that had Christian programming, whether it was preaching, songs, Sunday school. There's a little thing called Bible Man. I really hope some of you guys know what Bible Man is, because sometimes I feel like I'm crazy. It went, Bible Man, Bible Man. It was like the Batman of the Bible. And yeah, so I grew up in church, and all I listened to was country and Christian music growing up. Like, that was it. Maybe a little bit of like classic rock in there, and like 104.9. If everybody in the South Jersey area knows what that radio station is, it's like the family friendly, alternative radio station. But and I was involved in like Christian, like the church plays and different things like that and whatnot. So that's how I grew up. And I want to say I was about 10 or 11 when I started having anxiety, and the anxiety kind of stemmed from the idea that I could go to hell if I slipped up or if I messed up. And I was freaking out every day. I was like, yo, like, I'm gonna end up in hell. Like, 'cause I was a kid. Kids always do things that they're not supposed to. Whether it was searching things on the internet that I wasn't supposed to be searching, or whether it was lying or, being bad in school, whatever. All these little things were just little droplets of fear in my head that made me think that I was going to go to hell eventually. And I had a legit anxiety attack at the age of 10, 11, something around there, where I freaked out and I was like, I'm going to go to hell if the world ends right now. Like, I'm going to get stuck here, because that was a big thing too, that when, the apocalypse came, a lot, like, Jesus would come for his people, and the rest of them would, the people who go up to heaven with him and the Lord, and then the rest of us just stay here in a shitty world that we're subjected to because of our mistakes and things like that. And so I think that's when everything kind of started shifting for me. I was still stuck in that Christian guilt mindset, and I was questioning a lot of things. I would question things to my family members and church members, and they wouldn't have the answers. They didn't. It was always deflecting. It was like, you shouldn't ask questions if you believed in God, or if you had faith in God, or, all your answers will be answered, and all your questions will be answered in the future, and things like that. And it kind of just became a whole thing of like, I had to look at it as my own thing and not have to rely on people, saying different things, and, waiting for questions to be answered. And so through middle school, I started to, change the way I looked at things. I was still going to church 3, 4 times a week. I was in youth group by that time. I was, very active, always doing church events and things like that. But things started slipping, and I started doing, like more things, like more bad things behind, my parents' backs and different things like that. And that only increased the guilt and increased the shame that I would feel when I would go to church on Sundays, or they would sit me down and talk to me about the things I was doing. And it it started eating at me to the point where I think I want to say around freshman year of high school, I kind of just realized everything was bullshit. And I was just like, I just started denouncing things, like, and also there was that point in my life, there's a lot of things, deconstructing. Like, my parents were getting divorced at that time, and I kind of realized that there were a lot of things that didn't make sense, within the religion, within Christianity, within the ways that my parents were living and the things they were doing and saying versus how they wanted me to act or people around us to act and things like that. And I also realized that while you're in church, a lot of the people in church are just there to gossip or to say they went to church or to talk about how holy they are versus another person. And I also want to say that this podcast is in no way, I'm not trying to disrespect your religion or say that, you're wrong for believing what you believe. I'm just saying what I believe in my experience with things and my observations. Because I know there are a lot of people who find comfort and truth in their religion and things like that. But I personally believe once religion starts, that's where spirituality ends. And I feel like a lot of the Christians or, Muslims or anybody of any religion that I know that are closest to their truest forms and to the truest idea of God, which is what Christianity is, it is to be Christ like, have deconstructed all the religious ways and dogmas that have been ingrained into their brains and are connecting truly to spirituality rather than religion. So to get back, yeah, I started deconstructing everything in my head, and I started asking myself, like, or kind of accepting at that point that I would go to hell for any of the things that I did and that I was doing. And I started smoking weed, and it became a thing of, is this a sin? Like all these different things. And then at the same time, if anybody knows me or my mother, you guys know that my mom smokes weed, and it was just a thing of, this woman that, is supposed to be a pastor and supposed to be holy and all these things, she smokes weed too. So it's like, where is that line? Where does it start? Where does it end? And then I realized personally that there is no line except the one that we create for each other, that we create for ourselves, and the judgments that we place onto each other. And so, within my high school years, I became very rebellious. I became the kid that was going around the kids in school and saying, Hail Satan, 666, party with the devil. I was listening to a lot of Screamo stuff. I was listening to a lot of, alternative hardcore things, Asking Alexandria, Devil Wears Prada. And that was a Christian band too. And that was kind of my segue into like listening to heavier things. I brought it to my family and was like, this is a Christian band. I should be able to listen to this. And they're like, okay. And then because I couldn't understand any of the lyrics that anything else was saying, I would just listen to everything. I was a very big fan of of Mice and Men. I love the Mice and Men. Um, a lot heavier things and a lot of things that had a lot of satanic imagery in it or whatever. And I would go around school writing upside down crosses in the bathroom stalls and pentagrams and 666 on people's papers and acting crazy. And it was all just to create this kind of facade and idea that like I am this person that I really wasn't. I was just going through a thing where I was kind of rebelling against all the things at home and church and all those different things. So then after that, after I calmed down with that, which would probably be toward like the end of 10th grade, I I started kind of becoming like an atheist to a certain extent, where like I realized nothing matters. Like all these things that they put into our minds and all these concepts that they've forced upon us to scare us and put us into this hole and this fear mongering echo chamber that it's all just concept a concept that was created by other men, and not to exclude women in it, but man, like as humans. And it I kind of went down. That created a whole lot of depression in me too, because it's like everything I known, everything I thought I knew, kind of just changed, and there was no hope. And I was dealing with depression at that time very deeply. And if anybody knew me at the time, knew I had a very bad Xanax problem at a very young age as well. I was doing a lot of Xanax, spending a lot of time in my room, smoking weed, not getting out, not doing anything important. Um, I still had some of the best times of my life at that time, when I look back, but in all honesty, it was a very empty time. It was a very time full of, questions that I didn't even want to be answered anymore because they scared me, and that brought on more anxiety, and the lack of knowledge brought on depression, and then the depression brought on, it was just a cycle, and it became the sinking hole of things. And then towards the end of my junior year of high school, here's where the fun begins. um, I started doing a lot of psychedelics, a lot. I remember, I think the first time I did psychedelics or acid was, I want to say June 18th of 2016, I believe. I could be mistaken, but that is it. And this is a complete disclaimer to anybody listening. I am not endorsing the use of psychedelics or drugs or alcohol or anything. I just want to put that out there first of all. These are my experiences, and I am using them to educate and to talk about the times I've had and the way I look at things because of them. Just want to get that out the way and just understand that you know, there are laws and things that you have to follow in the areas that you are. And I was just a kid back then, and I was uh, crazy, for lack of a better term. But yeah, so I started doing acid, and I basically did acid that whole summer, the whole summer after my junior year, before my senior year, and it didn't lead me to my spirituality, but it opened me up after multiple years of just feeling numb, after just feeling like there were no answers, like that there was nothing out there for me, that because I said fuck God, I said you don't exist, I said if you're gonna help me, like help me now. And there was no answer. There was no answer from, this almighty being that you're supposed to be able to go to and cry to. And, I built up resentment for that. And I built up this concept of, anybody who went to church is a dumbass. Anybody who, thought God was gonna help them is dumb. God doesn't write your checks, you do. God didn't help you lose your house, he didn't help you. Like, he didn't help you save your house. There's different things like that. And I built this resentment, and that, increased the numbness and all these things. And then when I did acid, it, anybody who has done it knows that there are plenty of colors and plenty of sounds and feelings that come along with it. And, I know a lot of people who say that, acid is like the key to the universe and to, God and the gods that are out there. And I would disagree completely. Um, I think it is just a substance. It is a substance, but there's things that you feel and things that you perceive. You perceive a reality when you're on it, but it is just your reality. In all reality, people experience these things sober, and it unlocks a different. I don't want to say a different perception, but it's a different experience in your life that can add on to all the experiences that you already had. You know what I'm saying? And so I went through that phase of, just tripping acid, and then it became this thing where for a while at that time, I did think there was an answer in this thing. I did think that there was an almighty being, and this, little piece of paper with this droplet on it is the ticket. It is the key to unlock all those things. And after about the 11th or 12th time that I did acid, I realized that I was just chasing, my own tail. Like I was just running in circles and having the same experiences every night with the same friends, listening to the same music, having the same questions, spending the same 8 to 12 hours, bugging out, thinking that I'm somewhere that I'm not, or that I'm in a reality that I'm not. And I just started going crazy. And then, but there's still this thing inside of me that felt like I needed to chase it and chase it. And I did. And then eventually, about March of my senior year, there was one experience I had with acid where I entered a psychosis. And I didn't I didn't escape that psychosis for months. And it was that's when I realized what hell was. That is hell. When you can't escape the tortures of your mind, when you can't escape the barriers of your mind, when there are no barriers to your mind at the same time because you're just all over the place, you're melting constantly. And I was stuck in this state that I thought every day was the same day for months. That I thought all my friends hated me, and all the things I was doing were just messy. And like at the same time, there was this yin and yang experience of feeling these things and not feeling these things, and but that line in the middle that separated them was blurred to the point that it was almost not there, and everything was everything else. And it was just a messy time in my life. I was going through a lot of pain from a breakup. I was, dealing with the concept of that I'm not going to be able to go to college because I spent a year and a half doing drugs, and 3 years before that smoking weed every day before school. And it's kind of like I said it I said it in school multiple times to teachers, and I don't understand how they didn't know that I was, using substances at the time. But I was like, I'm just gonna go in the woods and I'm just gonna live. Like, and of course now in my life that has become another dream of mine. But at that time it was me admitting defeat without having to admit defeat. It was me kind of trying to say that this is what I want to do because there's nothing else for me to do, and I wasn't going to be able to get a scholarship, or I wasn't going to be able to get FAFSA, or whatever was going on. I wasn't even thinking about college at the time, and yeah, so it messed me up for a couple months, and but then I remember graduation day, I was sitting on the bleachers, and I was listening to Neil, an old classmate of mine. He was a valedictorian, I believe, and he was giving a speech, and he was talking about a thing called Early Bird. As part of his speech, that was a group that was me and my friends that we made music and we sold shirts, and I bet a lot of you guys remember that and know it. And there would be future podcasts talking about it, which I'm super excited for, with members of Early Bird and myself and the stories and different things like that. But I digress. That I'm excited for those. But and when he said that, and he said something about along the lines of, violent is special because it shows you that people can chase their dreams and be supported by the people that they are. It Something literally clicked in my brain while I was sitting in those bleachers, and it was like this the darkness and all the confusion and all the mess that was my acid brain just kind of wore off. And it did take years after that for it to completely wear off. There were moments where I have trigger words or trigger moments, and I'd have, for lack of a better term, PTSD about these certain things. And but at that moment, I realized that I wasn't, you know, a hostage to my mind and my experiences, my past, and my drug use. And that created a liberating sense for me where I'm going to be able to create my own world and be able to be the man that I'm supposed to be and think the way that I'm supposed to think, and that my past experiences don't define me. And I also walked home from, our graduation. I lived a couple blocks down the street from where we had our graduation. And it was a very surreal moment. The light was coming through the trees. There was kids outside playing. There's families congratulating me, and I was just walking by myself, taking it all in, understanding that not only the 4 years that I've spent at this school, but 18 years of life that I've spent have all led up to this moment. And it was amazing for me. It was liberating. It was, a breakthrough. It was more of a breakthrough than I ever had on acid. And then, the following months I had a lot of family troubles in that time, and I was basically by myself. I didn't have the help of my parents. I didn't have a job, didn't really have a future at the time, and I was also in a relationship, and I was kind of very focused on the relationship. Trying to get a job, working every day, supporting myself and making sure that I don't fail at that point. So I was very in like a grind mode. I wasn't really worried about anything spiritual at that time, and I wasn't really worried about anything spiritual for the next year or so after that, and even a little bit longer than that. I was just kind of in this grind mode, and throughout my life I was very, when I was going through the acid times, I was into hippy dippy stuff, meditation. I would always say I was into meditation. I would always say that I was into, chakras and healing, but I never was. I never put in the time to learn what I needed to learn, or I didn't have the discipline to sit myself down and connect to myself and the world around me and the universe around me. I was learning things, the whole time about, the universe, because you learn these things through life, and it's in our DNA, I believe, without us even knowing it. There are things that are passed down generation after generation that, you can connect to and you can learn, but you have to tap into it. And I feel like I was subconsciously tapping in, but I wasn't aware of it, and I wasn't putting the time in to do it. So I would honestly say, up until now, I would honestly say that my spiritual journey kind of skyrocketed this May of 2020, specifically on my birthday. It was May 7th, and it was a full moon. It was a flower moon. And, it was the first time that I told myself, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to talk to the moon, especially because it's my birthday and it's a full moon, and I want to get connected to myself and the world around me, and I sat down, and I was meditating, taking deep breaths, practicing my breaths, and I kind of got into this mantra of saying, thank you, universe, thank you, Allah, thank you, moon, thank you, God. Trying to give reverence to all these ideas of the Most High, to the cosmos, to everything that is, and that, the Alpha and the Omegas, the things that beyond. But then I started thanking myself, and not to take away from, the powers that be and the Most Highs, but I never gave myself the props for what I did. I never gave myself the props for, taking my own mind out of that psychosis that I was in, or, getting the job that I needed to get and working my ass off. And I am no way supporting capitalism or the fact that we have to work 40 hours a week to survive, because fuck that. And like I said before many times, that would be another podcast. But yes, I never gave myself the praise that I deserved, because I've always tried to be humble. But I always realized that I not always, but then I eventually realized that I diminished my self-worth by doing that. I didn't give myself the pats on the back or the hugs or the love and support that I truly deserved for doing the things that I did and opening the doors for the friends that I did, and helping not only myself grow, but the people around me grow, and, being the light that I truly am, that I realized I was. And I cried. Like, I literally cried for 45 minutes in my car while my friends were inside my apartment waiting for me to get inside so we could start drinking and, partying for my 21st birthday. And dude, I'm starting to tear up, just thinking about it. It was one of the purest experiences I've ever had in my life, where I was being honest with myself, and I was happy to be honest with myself, and I was thankful for the life that I've lived, and the things that I've experienced, for all the mistakes that I've made, for Jesus, I'm crying. Sorry. for all the good choices I've made and the doors I've opened up for myself, and just the man that I am and the man that I will be becoming. And it was just the purest moment I've ever experienced in my life at that point. And it that opened up a whole new direction for my life. I became so much more connected to myself and my spirituality and my sexuality and my energies and other people's energies. And I was able to start, cutting people off when I needed to, or, respecting myself, more enough to put myself on a platform, and elevate myself. Not saying that I'm better than anybody, but just that I am the best version of myself because I am myself and I am true to myself and I am 100% me and nobody else is me and I am nobody else. And it is, like I said, it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. And I feel like I was blessed to be turning 21 with a full moon on my birthday. And at that time of my life, I had about a month left before I was going to be homeless. So it was a time where I was struggling and I was thinking a lot and not really worrying. I was worrying a lot, and I had to release it all and give it all to the Most High and understand that the universe is going to take care of me. That I can't doubt it the same way that I was taught as a kid. You can't doubt God. You shouldn't question God. You should never doubt the universe. You should never question that the universe is if the universe is going to put you in a place that you're supposed to be, because it is. It always will. And I feel like I didn't notice that all the things that I've been through in my life were supposed to be leading up to that moment. And, everything is always affecting the next thing. And it is just a beautiful sequence of events that I feel like a lot of people don't acknowledge as much as they should. Oh my God, I catch my breath. And from that moment on, my life started playing out how it's supposed to. And I haven't questioned it since then. There are moments where that little, that sliver of doubt would pop up in my head, but I say, ain't no need for a sliver of doubt. I always cut it out. And ever since then, I've been on this path where I don't question myself. I don't question the universe. I don't question the reason why I am where I am. I just understand that I'm here, and I go with it. I go with the flow, and I just constantly adapt and I change how I need to. And then about 2 months later after that, I got a van. And anybody who knows me or is close to me knows that I love my van and that I take the trips that I need to take, and it's taking me where I need to be. Ever since I got that van, once again, I have not doubted that I am where I'm supposed to need to be. It has taken me to places that have taught me so many lessons and have shown me so much light in this world and experiences and love and growth and joy. And it is one of the biggest blessings I've had in this life. And ever since then, everything in my life has, panned out the way it's supposed to pan out. And I also realized that this is paraphrasing, but it's a quote from, The Alchemist. And it's, once the universe sees what you want, it's always going to work in your favor. And when it works in your favor, you're going to have beginner's luck. You're going to be like, wow, I can do this. This is so much fun. It's fulfilling. You're going to, experience that luck. But then the universe is going to ask you, do you really want this? Is this really what you want to do? And if it is, are you willing to put in the work for it? Are you willing to go through the trials and the tribulations that you have to go through to use your prior knowledge and to acquire new knowledge and adapt to become the person that you were meant to be and that you deserve to be? And, like I said, there are moments where I worried and there are moments where I felt lost again after finding this guiding light. Then I realized that light was inside of me, and it's inside all of us, and we have to unlock it. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand the power they have, because I didn't. I was doing things, and I had to look at it in retrospect to be like, wow. Dude, anybody who knew Early Bird knew that we sold. I don't know if you guys knew the logistics, but we sold $2,000 worth of shirts in less than a month. We made our own show. We made all our own beats. We did all our mixing and mastering. Dude, I survived through a time where I thought I was going to be homeless multiple times. I did all these different things, and I realized that I did the same realization I had on my birthday earlier that year, but then I realized that I can't let that go. You can't just experience something and be like, that was just for that moment. No, you have to hold that close to you as a reminder that those things are always going to go pop up, and you're always going to have moments that are going to remind you you're in the right place. And there are going to be times where the universe makes you feel like, you may be alone, or you may be going through something that you can't, going through something that you can't get through, but you truly can. And that's the thing that I feel like people don't understand, is that we all have the power of the universe inside us and God inside us. And that's not to take away from the power of the powers that be, and whatever deity you may worship, or whatever God you may worship, because they are powerful. But then you also have to remember that you are powerful as well. And I feel like a lot of people forget that, and a lot of people don't realize that. And that's where I'm at now. I'm at a point where I'm disciplined enough to practice my spirituality and my magical practices every day, and to get closer to myself and the world around me and the world inside of me, because everything is everything. I am you, you are me, we are we. We just have to observe it and be open to it. And I think it's hard. It's hard, especially when the world around you is, trying to force you into this box, or tell you that your ways of thinking are, esoteric, or just crazy, for lack of a better term, which I've heard, but it's like, things don't work unless you believe in them. Some people can say, oh, these crystals don't work, but they work if you believe in them. But in all reality, if you break it down, what's really working is your mind inside of you and your belief that these things are going to work. And I explained it to somebody yesterday as like Tinkerbell. You have to believe in it for it to work. And if you don't, it's not going to work. But, that's where I am in my spirituality now. And I'm at a point where I understand I have all the power that I need inside of me. And if I don't have it, I can acquire it, and I can learn it, and I can be open to it. But I have to be open to it, and I have to be open to receiving and learning new things, and being disciplined enough, and being open enough, and being loving enough, and being a big enough source of light to receive those things. Because if you move with negative intentions, and you move with, nasty motives, and, doing things, because I know a lot of people that have got into, magic or spirituality to become, not to become, but to do things, to raise themselves up against, above other people. And that's not what you do it for. You do it to become the best version of you, so you can help the people around you become the best versions of them, so you can create the best version of this world and reality that you can create. And that's what it comes down to, in my opinion, is that we're all here, and we might as well work together with love and light. And, I just hope you guys can learn and open yourselves up to different levels, or different understandings of things that you may or may not understand, and understand the power that you guys have within yourself. Even if you're not spiritual, you guys have the power to, work out. You guys have the power to start businesses. You guys have the power to be the artist that you're meant to be, because we're all meant to be the things that we are going to be. We just have to unlock it and show that we really, really want it. So with that being said, love and light to all of you guys.